Welcome to the Kacee Allen Show. I'm your host, Kacee Allen. Glad to be back with you guys on this Wednesday night. We've got a lot to talk about. This is our first day dive into the Iran war of the week. We had a couple of interviews we released this week and last week, and we did a couple reaction videos here and there. A lot with Joe Kent, Tucker Carlson. We're actually going to be doing one tonight as well. It's going to be a little bit of a split episode here. We're going to be talking about Day 26 of the U.S. Israel-Iran War, how there's really no end in sight. U.S. objectives seem to be the same, which are really none. They're just doing whatever really Israel tells them to do. And we're also going to be talking about, and we're going to be reacting to, which is I'm really excited for, because this is an absolutely entertaining and very telling debate between Adam Sosnick and Dave Smith on Piers Morgan just yesterday. It's gone quite viral because Adam Sosnick, he's a Jewish guy that works for Patrick Bet-David, and he's, I guess he's pro-Trump now, but he basically made a fool of himself against Dave Smith, who's a libertarian. He's also Jewish, but he really destroyed him in the Iran debate because all Adam Sosnick had was basically just the argument of saying, Dave Smith says United States is the greatest terrorist organization in the world. And he had nothing else, no substance, no geopolitical arguments to back whatever he was saying up, and made an absolute fool of himself. So we're going to be talking about that one. But before we get into the entire show and talk about all of everything going on, because it's an absolute mess out there, make sure to follow us on all platforms. As you guys can see below on our banner, our show is primarily on YouTube, youtube.com/Kacee Allen Show, rumble.com @Kacee Allen Show, x.com @Kacee Allen Show, and we also have our Instagram, TikTok, and locals community. So make sure to follow and join those before we get started. So we're going to get right into the things. We're going to get right into the story, of basically what's going on with the Iran war. Because last we talked about, same deal. U.S. objectives doesn't really seem to be clear. They took out Khamenei. From what we're hearing, the reports is that they've taken out 80% of Iran's military capability. But again, we don't know exactly what they're trying to do here. They claim that it's stopping Iran from getting nuclear weapons, which I think that's pretty much out of the question, at least for a long time. If there's any chance that Iran does get leadership and have a military that's able to cultivate another possibility to enrich uranium and build nuclear weapons, then it could happen, but it's going to take a very long time. So at the very least, the U.S. and Israel certainly set them back. But again, what is victory here? Because I think, especially from Trump's perspective and how his coalition is seeing things here, they think that really anything is a win because they see what happened with Venezuela. They think that this whole peace through strength thing makes them look good when it actually makes them look really bad. I think Venezuela politically played better in Trump's case because you're talking a little bit before midterms. You're talking about something that's in our hemisphere and actually did have much more support out of the MAGA base than what you're seeing now with Iran, because Trump basically said all the way back to 2015, on the debate stage, that he would not have any sort of intention of any more of these Middle Eastern affairs or Middle Eastern conflicts that have been extremely detrimental to the United States, and there is absolutely no way or shape or form to say that this was beneficial to America. And that's really the problem here, because we're a country that we could be much better than what we are. We just choose to settle for less, and we choose to allow ourselves to be infiltrated. And that's why you have DC and you have the Trump administration, they have no idea what victory looks like. We've already lost 13 to 14 U.S. troops. Gas prices are about $4 a gallon in Kentucky. It's just absolutely abysmal ever since the Strait of Hormuz was shut down. And I wouldn't be surprised if Trump just says, if we get Iran to reopen the strait and we say that we did some damage to the Ayatollah. They killed the Ayatollah, but if they really do present enough evidence to say, this is at the very least, we set Iran back, and at the very least, we are preventing terrorist attacks from Iran, with their capabilities and with everything we've done now, they would most certainly attack the United States. And obviously, I'm being facetious. That's just the narrative coming from D.C. and the Trump administration. And though, like I said, they really are being blindsided here. That's what it is. And Israel is manning the ship. They are the captain here. And I know no one wants to hear it on the MAGA side. They think no one can control Donald Trump. Donald Trump's his own man. How could that ever happen? You guys have clearly never heard of anything called blackmail. I mean, have you ever heard of something called blackmail? Something that literally can compromise anyone of any power, of any stature, to do what someone else wants them to do. That's literally what that is. I mean, whatever that may be, you can make your own insinuations, your own guesses. Could it be the Epstein files? Could it be something with all the lawsuits that he once went through, which many of them were corrupt? But there's a lot of things you could point to. And it wouldn't be the most surprising thing to think that why someone like Trump would be blackmailed, because why is he not making decisions on behalf of the people that elected him this time around? He's doing quite the opposite. He's making the decisions on behalf of the donors, behalf of Israel. Those are the people that got what they voted for. Everyone else who voted for Trump got nothing. The most they can say is the border's secure. Okay, that's your job. Just because Biden and Harris didn't secure the border doesn't mean that because you all of a sudden do, that you should be given a pat on the back. No, I'm glad they are, but that's expected of you. I mean, yeah, think about it. The economy is not any better. Nothing's more affordable. The idea of tariffs, I agree with, but they were poorly executed by Trump. He's completely did a 180 on his foreign policy. This whole anti-interventionist, anti-war, no new wars. I mean, you guys heard everything during the 2024 campaign. I don't remember a war with Iran, kidnapping the Venezuelan president. I mean, really 2 wars with Iran. You're talking the 12-day war now. Imagine if those things were on Trump's campaign promises. Like the list of 20 things Trump would make, let's just say hypothetically, when he ran in 24, if he took out no new wars and put 2 wars with Iran in the first 2 years of his presidency, kidnapping, or say recklessly and very risk averse, but extremely risky situation with Venezuela and kidnapping Nicolas Maduro, which could have gone very wrong. Luckily, it didn't. If those things were on the ballot, or if those things were on a pamphlet before you voted for Trump, would you? Because I know I certainly wouldn't have. I would have not voted for these wars, for foreign intervention, things that, I mean, no one had any sort of understanding, any sort of likeness for this to happen, unless your name's Mark Levin, unless you're the Israel lobby, unless you're Laura Loomer, Miriam Adelson, people that paid for this. And again, at this point, like, you know what? This is on the Republicans. This is on Trump. This is his legacy. And when Republicans completely lose the midterms and Thomas Massie wins, the Trump administration are going to have hell to pay. There's going to be a good chance, I would say good chance, it's almost guaranteed at this point, that the Democrats reclaim the House and possibly the Senate. And then when that happens, that's when we're going to start seeing the impeachment hearings for Trump and his administration. You're going to see, obviously, Trump as commander-in-chief. I mean, this will be the 3rd impeachment if it happens. Then you're going to have Pam Bondi, Attorney General, who's dead to rights, broke the law by withholding the Epstein files and redacting information on actual criminals and sex traffickers and failing to prosecute any of them. I mean, refusing to prosecute a single one of them. Not following the Epstein Files Transparency Act put into place by Thomas Massie, blatantly violating that law. Then you have Pete Hegseth. I mean, this reckless, like rabid warhawk Zionist that's bombing every single ship that comes by the Western Hemisphere, anywhere near Florida. I mean, this dude is literally, again, I understand getting illegal immigrants out of the country. I understand deterring threats from abroad. But these fisher boats they were bombing, I mean, these people had hardly any chance to get to the United States. They had to refuel 20 plus times. And again, I'm not wishing that they do. I genuinely do not want illegals coming to this country, especially via boat, bringing drugs in the country. But let's just say that the people that were bringing drugs into the country had this intent. I mean, maybe it'd be a good idea to arrest some of these guys first, not only because it's kind of international law and would probably be a good thing to do. It would be also good to know where these people are coming from, who sent them, who they're working for. If you just completely obliterate these people without doing any research, any investigation on the people you're killing, I don't understand how exactly you're going to be benefiting there. Yeah, I mean, you're eviscerating something that could be deemed a threat. That's the only win there, hypothetically. But you're talking about the risk of breaking international law. You're talking about, I mean, it's extremely risky what they're doing there. But so Pete Hegseth, he's going to have hell to pay in 2026. Or I'm sorry, 2027 when the impeachment hearings come. He is dead to rights. I mean, this guy is literally going to be, he's going to be dog food for the Democrats. So I mean, it is what it is. I'm not complaining about it. At this point, I'm kind of just, I'm rooting for impeachments because these people betrayed me and they betrayed every single person that voted for them, their constituents. And, not to be this anarchist that wants to burn everything down, but maybe that's what needs to happen with the GOP. They've got to learn the hard way. And Thomas Massie, like I said, he's probably going to be one of the only Republicans that win a landslide in the midterms because all these other guys have no sentiment behind them. They're all AIPAC shills. They're voting for more foreign wars. What have they done to bring down affordability, or I'm sorry, make things more affordable? Nothing. I mean, it's just an absolute joke. And you could just get some, pink-haired freak off the streets at this point that just says, I don't like Israel. And they probably have a better chance than your stereotypical Dan Crenshaw, who also just got beat the other day. So, yeah, that's just my take on the whole thing. But, yeah, just highlighting day 26, everything we know. There's rumors that I think it was like 2,000 troops are supposed to, I guess, be sent either airborne. I think it's 82nd Airborne. They're talking about sending thousands of more troops over the Middle East, like literally almost insinuating that there's going to be troops on the ground, or I'm sorry, boots on the ground, and this is going to be an absolutely disastrous situation that's I think is already out of Trump's control at this point. I mean, I think the second, really last summer when we chose to bomb Iran with Midnight Hammer, we basically entered a situation that we can't get out of, and it's going to be a very long time. We've already seen that with previous countries much smaller in the Middle East. So not a crazy prediction there. I think it's pretty accurate to say it's not too wild. And, I'd like to see the odds against that. So, yeah, same deal. A lot more explosions. Israel claims over 600 strikes on missile capabilities, Iranian launchers, and capabilities are significantly degraded but not eliminated. Trump administration sent a 15-point ceasefire proposal plan to Iran via Pakistan and other channels, and claims that talks are underway or progressing, with warnings that failure will lead to basically harsher penalties. And I think someone quoted Trump saying they'll unleash hell or hit harder. And I think they've given like a 2-week deadline. It keeps changing, so I don't really know. I'm not sure how serious Trump is about this, but I think they really did from the beginning. They do seek diplomacy. They seek negotiations. So does Iran. But Israel's the one that doesn't. They're always the one that has to sabotage the agreements and sabotage diplomacy. That's just what happens when you're just trying to steal land and you're just trying to be this, this thug in the Middle East that thinks that they don't have to follow international law. And anything that they want is promised to them. It was supposedly promised to them 3,000 years ago. But here soon they're going to say the United States was promised to them 3,000 years ago. Watch. That's my crazy prediction. So, yeah, that is my take on the current situation. Things look to be getting worse, not better. And I think the final piece of of real confirmation that we're going to see boots in the ground, or at least it's looking like that we're going to see that, is the USS Tripoli, amphibious boat that's meant for that. And I'm not sure how far off the coast they are from Tehran, but I hear it's very, it's pretty close, and it's planning. Like I said, Trump's giving them like 5 days to 2 weeks. That's the timeline I've heard. And again, there you also have like stuff with JD Vance, this guy that's hiding behind closed doors, giving these fake statements to the media, trying to make it seem like he's against the war. He's basically like walking on a tightrope, not trying to offend, almost like kind of like a Charlie Kirk situation, RIP, but kind of throwing up the big tent, trying to cater to everyone that we know would be appealing to all of his audience. But that always fails. It's you try to please everyone, you please no one. And I think that's kind of the reality of that situation. But yeah, I want to move on here. We got to react to the absolute embarrassment out of Adam Sosnick. I can't believe this guy actually thought he could debate someone like Dave Smith, but this probably is one of the most embarrassing debates I've ever seen. Like this is up there. Like this dude Sosnick, for 10 minutes, had no idea what he was talking about. He tried to cite a different debate from like 6 months ago. I mean, it was I can't even explain it. It's so bad. So here it is. We got to find this entire debate here. Let's see. Like I said, if you guys aren't following, make sure to subscribe to YouTube at Kacee Allen Show. Everything else is on the banner below, so make sure to follow while we're pulling up this pretty wild interview, or pretty wild debate, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Some more. Dave Smith, host of Part of the Problem, a Libertarian who backed Trump in 2024, and Adam Sosnick, who's the Valuetainment host and PBD Podcast regular, a former Liberal who backed Trump in 2024. Well, welcome to both of you. Dave Smith, we'll come to the tsunami that greeted your last appearance on Uncensored, led by Ben Shapiro a little later. But first of all, this sort of quaint notion now being peddled by people in the mainstream media that the podcast world is irrelevant. No one's ever heard of any of the podcasters or we YouTubers or anything, and we should all just be ignored. I don't think that's true.
Oh, I mean, it's patently absurd on its face. I mean, again, I'm not trying to like overstate the influence that any one podcast or show has. But I mean, lots of people listen to shows. They don't necessarily agree completely with the host of that show. But again, you know, to say, look, I mean, Piers, if you look at the polls, what the polls tell us is that this is the most unpopular war in American history going into the war. And CNN is going to read you these North Korea numbers. Actually, in fact, I think it was better than Kim Jong-un did in his last election, 100% of MAGA. But what does that really mean? I mean, the truth is, Piers, you kind of nailed it here in your opening, right? Even when Joe Biden was clearly senile and was forced to pull out of his reelection campaign, the majority of Biden supporters still supported him, you know, and like there was still going to be like 40-something% of the electorate would have voted for Joe Biden. Now, that wasn't enough, though, and that's why they forced him out, because you need a coalition to carry you here. So this comes down to like how you're defining MAGA. If you want to say Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn and Andrew Schultz and all these guys, they're not MAGA. Well, okay, but they were relevant enough for Donald Trump to go on all of their shows in the campaign. And the point is that the coalition that got Donald Trump elected in 24, that got him for the first time ever to win the popular vote, that coalition has been destroyed. And the final thing I'll say is this, Piers, I made this prediction on my show the other day, but right now you kind of have these two, broadly speaking, camps, say Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, maybe people like me, who are saying the coalition has been destroyed. And then on the other side, you have people like you played Bacha, Ben Shapiro, who are saying, no, the coalition is fine. What we've learned is that Tucker Carlson doesn't matter. Give it a couple months, Pierce, and I promise you, everyone on that side will say the coalition has been destroyed and it's Tucker's fault. This is going to tank Donald Trump's presidency. We're already past the point of that. The Democrats are going to win the House and the Senate. It's going to be impeachments and subpoenas and investigations for the next 2 years. And I don't think anyone from this administration can win the presidential in 28 at this pace.
Right. Well, Adam, you're part of a very successful podcast. Patrick Bet-David's been a regular on this show, as have other members of your great team. And, I would say just from a personal, you can only judge it personally, I guess, but I've been on some of the biggest TV shows, mainstream TV shows you could think of, right? America's Got Talent for 6 years. Britain's Got Talent. I replaced Larry King at CNN. They aired my show 3 times a day in America and around the world, and so on and so on. And what's been fascinating to me in the last couple of years is I get more people come up to me in the street, wherever I am, whether it's New York, LA, London, Sydney, the Middle East, whatever. More people come up, and they're a bit younger than came up when I did any of those shows. And they're all coming up about my YouTube show, and they're all watching it avidly, and they're watching other shows like yours, like Dave's, Tucker, because they talk to me about all this. I had 2 guys last week from Denmark, 19, I think they were, stopped me in the street in West London. Passionate viewers of Uncensored, right? It was really fascinating to talk to them. So I just think this idea that people who operate away from mainstream media now, like you, like me, like Dave, like others, that we're kind of irrelevant and no one knows who we are, is completely contradicted by reality. I just see it in the streets. So I don't know whether it's self-preservation going on, that the mainstream media doesn't want to accept there's been a shift in power. But what do you think?
So we're talking about the mainstream media. So how much trust do you have in the mainstream media? But so let me answer that. So number one, Piers, great to be with you. Dave, good to see you. It's been a little while. And thank you for dressing up, Dave. The question that you're asking is, are young people watching social media and they're watching YouTube? Obviously, duh. My mom still watches the news at 8 p.m. and if she misses it, that's it. She doesn't see it. She hasn't figured out how to get on social media. She still tries to ask me how to find me on YouTube and on Instagram. But yes, the 35 and under crowd is on social media. And I'll tell you an anecdote. I'm a registered independent. I'd never voted for Trump. And then I, had common sense and realized, do you vote for Trump, who might be brutish and an a-hole, or you vote for a weak, feckless, I wouldn't even call it leader like Kamala. And obviously the choice is pretty easy. But I would debate with my liberal friends, one that was very, very, very tight with the Clinton people, part of the Hillary campaign. And he noticed as I was starting to become more, let's just say, less Trump hating. This is in 2023, 2024, run up to the election. And then he goes, dude, I don't even know what happened to you. You're like full on MAGA now. I go, no, I just have common sense. I see what's going on the radical left. And it's so un-American to me. And he goes, yeah, you're just in your little YouTube world. I'm in the real world with the real politicians and the real polls. I got the real stuff going on. I go, hey, buddy, his name is John. I go, John, this is the real world now, guy. Yeah, well, we'll see. So obviously we see what happens in the election. This is not the type of person that likes to apologize, right? Comes up to me and he goes, Adam, I was dead wrong. You're right. This is a new YouTube world. Congratulations on all your success, Piers, and welcome to the YouTube world. It is what it is.
Okay, well, we're sort of in broad agreement there. Let's get to broad disagreement, I suspect, which is the way this war is playing out. I mean, Dave, I've really struggled to work out the upside for Donald Trump from the start of this. Doing this so close to the midterms, doing exactly what he said he wouldn't do, which is he was going to stop, attacking Middle Eastern countries. It was all going to be America first, a premium on sorting out American problems in America. And then suddenly he launches a war on one of the biggest countries in the Middle East, certainly one of the best armed. And all hell has broken loose, not least to the global economy, which is inevitably going to have, and already is having, a very detrimental effect on living standards for average Americans. If I'm an American that voted for Trump, I'm like, I don't get this. I might in a poll say I get it, but I don't think I really get it.
Yeah, and then you also have to consider there, Piers, right? Like there's a sizable percentage of people who support Donald Trump, who approve of the job broadly that he's been doing, who maybe, look, we're 3 weeks or whatever into this, go, all right, I'll kind of give him a chance. We'll see. But if this doesn't turn into any type of win, and if it turns into a clear disaster, which it already seems to be, that's only going to hurt him more and more and more. I think, look, Piers, it's despite the fact that it is not in my incentives in some way as like a political commentator, like I hope this whole thing just works out great. And then I know that all the people who don't like me will say, ha ha, you were warning that this would be a disaster. I hope that I would much rather take that deal and live in that. But here's the other element there is that, right, we had the 12-day war in the summer. And I've certainly heard, I heard at the time, some on debates that we did on your show and others. And I've heard nothing but since then on social media that, you guys were so stupid. You were warning about exactly what we're seeing right now, which is what all of us were warning about who are critics of the 12-day war. And Iran didn't do that. And they were like, look, we got away with it. One and done. No Americans dead. And that's it. We don't have to do anything else. They spent the following 6 months bragging about how the nuclear threat had been totally obliterated. Now we find ourselves, Piers, back in this same situation. And as I mentioned last time on your show, the big picture here is that clearly the calculation changed for Iran. They no longer feel that it's in their incentive for self-preservation to not strike back and kill Americans or not do maximal damage. And now, clearly, with a younger, more radical Ayatollah who has not promised to not build nuclear weapons, they've made the calculation that actually they can't not give us a bloody nose, that they have to really make this cost us. Otherwise, we'll be back in another few months doing it again. And of course, at the beginning of this war, Donald Trump said this was a full regime change war and called for the people to rise up and overthrow their government. And the people did rise up, Piers, in support of their martyr Ayatollah and in support of this regime. I know you saw some of those aerial shots. There must have been hundreds of thousands of people out in the streets in Tehran, in the most liberal part of the country, supporting the regime. So I'm sorry, at this point, this just looks like a catastrophe. And the best we can hope for at this point is that it only ends up killing like 10,000 people, and it only ends up costing tens of billions of dollars rather than the 200 that Secretary Hegseth has asked for. And this all relies on two major factors. Think about this, Piers. It's not just that Donald Trump has to call it quit and declare victory or whatever, but then we got two other entities that are majorly involved in this war, Iran and Israel. Now, we know at this point, Iran is saying they're vowing not to stop. They talk a lot of bluster. Who knows? Maybe they will. But Israel, Piers, we all know they want the regime change here. In the 12-day war and in this war already, they've hit targets after Trump has clearly asked them not to. Who's to say they don't continue doing that? And it begs a real question of how we get out of this quagmire. Yeah, 3 weeks in, we're already there.
Right. So, Adam, you've had a little spat with Dave on social media. When he called it an illegal war of aggression on X, you said, come on, guy, read the room. Dave responded, let's not pretend you read, Adam. To which you replied, I'm able to read scoreboards. You are losing big time. Mm-hmm. Do you still feel that? I mean, do you still feel that? Because I would argue that the scoreboards militarily absolutely would show that the United States and Israeli combined forces have inflicted enormous.
And yeah, check the scoreboard. Israel killed 70,000 Palestinians in 2 years.
Damage on Iran's military capability. I think that's inarguable. However, what I don't think has been properly factored in by the Americans and Israelis is the ability of Iran to wage an economic war in parallel to a military war. And that by controlling the Straits of Hormuz and by attacking, as they have done, their neighboring Gulf states, both oil refineries and tourist hotspots,